Hey everyone, it's Leah right now. We had a little bit of free time. Autumn's been out running errands and she's home for about an hour or two before her and her husband head off to church. So, didn't bother to really change despite this is a very autumn outfit I'm wearing at the moment, but hair's a bit too messy to take off the hat. So, we're just going to go with it and I'll just pretend I look like myself. We're going to go a different route with this video. It's not what we had planned to do this week. The original intention had been to do the second half of the vacations video, to talk about Rock City, to go about all that, but honestly, we got really behind. That's why the video last week was uploaded Saturday instead of Friday, and we've just been struggling to play catch up ever since. So I decided to, instead of doing the Rock City video, to before any of the videos that we've posted were filmed, we filmed a different video. A video that was filmed the first day that I really fronted. It was the video I filmed partly because I hoped we'd eventually put it on the YouTube channel, but I mostly filmed it for the other altars. So yeah, that we had it filmed. We just needed to film the introduction and the outro, so I decided to go ahead and I confirmed with the system. It's earlier than we'd expected, but everyone's all right with it. And we're going to go ahead and get that posted now instead of later. So the video will be a little heavier than the previous ones we've posted. Just a bit of a warning that it gets very, very emotional. So, like I said, it was filmed a while ago, about over a month ago. It was filmed the very first day we ever recorded anything for YouTube. We did a few in sequence Meet the Altar videos. Seth was sitting across from us at the desk, and he waited there while we went and changed in the bedroom and came outside. We came out here, and he'd ask who it was on camera, and we'd introduce ourselves, and he'd ask the questions they had listed. And that was the first time not the first time I'd fronted, but the first time that I had a conversation as who I am now. Other than that, I just wanted to, before we got into the video, define a couple of terms that I use. I'm not planning on cutting the original video in any way, shape, or form. I'm not really planning on adding information into it unless extremely necessary. I'm just going to let that video do its job. But we use the term integration, two altars integrating, during that video. And that's not a wrong term, but the more accurate term would be a merging or fusion between two altars. And that is when two separate altars merge, fuse into a totally new altar. A pretty common analogy that is given is if you combine the colors, red and blue, you get purple, which is its own incredibly new color, but red and blue still exist. So when altars integrate, merge, fuse, whichever word you want to use, those altars are both gone, but not. They're definitely not dead, but there is grieving involved in it. There's a lot of grieving involved in it, honestly, especially when it's unexpected, which this one was. Another little minor term I use is age sliding. That refers to when an altar doesn't really, not that they don't know their age, but that their age changes depending on circumstances, timing, who they're around, what triggers them. It's pretty common for most altars I don't think there's really anyone on our system who doesn't have a little bit of age sliding, But the older an alter is, the less important that is. Instead of saying I age slide between 23 and 26, you just say you're in your mid-20s. But for younger alters, littles, age sliding is a big difference because there's a big difference between 4 years old and 8 years old. So, I don't think there were any other terms that we used. If I rewatch it and realize there are more, I'll go ahead and film that definition and cut it into here. But we're going to go ahead and just get into that video. Hi, so, it's Leah right now. Earlier today we were doing some of the Meet the Alter videos, and I decided to come out. I actually surprised the host's husband, Seth, by he'd never met me before, and he was like, "Which alter are you?" And I was like, I used the name Amelia, which felt right at the time, and I was like, "I'm Amelia," and he was like, "Oh." It was actually a really amusing moment. And even though I said my name was Amelia, I very quickly said that I liked the nickname Leah, and I've been more throughout the day going more and more by that. There were a couple of moments where, like, he'd ask a question, like, about, like, a way I worded things. It was like, "Oh, well, like, how long have you been around?" And I couldn't really give an answer because it was weird. And I can't be entirely sure, but there's, I think that the reason that was so hazy, and then the reason that the name felt right but also not right, is I'm a new alter that fused from 2 other alters. Within the last week or so, Amelia was a little tweenish age who most of the system didn't know about. She had a lot of interests that I share, obviously. Liked computers, liked the system, especially the host, and quite a few of the other alters actually have some pretty bad traumas about computers specifically. Computers, technology, just electronics in general. There were times when the body wasn't allowed to turn on gaming systems or things like that, and I think Amelia was one of the ways of circumventing that, of still having fun with those kind of games. And but she was always younger, and when asked earlier what my age range was, I said late teens, and I mentioned then that I think the way I worded it was we still got that age sliding thing going on, always in the teens, which I don't think was 100% accurate, but close enough. And I think Amelia integrated with another alter, Olivia, who, unlike Amelia, was a pretty prominent part of the system. I share a lot of Olivia's memories, while also having most of Amelia's interests and goals. With the YouTube, with the We Ourselves and Us thing, and with the host's husband planning on starting his own YouTube channel, there's been talk within the system of somebody handling the editing of the videos, and that's definitely something that I want to do, genuinely. But Amelia couldn't do that. She was too young. I'm not quite sure why. Olivia, honestly, since the very beginning of realizing that we were a system, of realizing what that could mean, Olivia's actually been the one who was most scared by the idea of integration. So there's a kind of twisted irony in the fact that, to our knowledge, she's the first, since the system was made known to us, one of the first to integrate. A few nights ago, she she had this little thing where she called herself the cleaning fairy, and she used to front in like deep clean places and just leave it for the host to figure out. She left a little letter addressed to the host's husband, starting with the cleaning fairy strikes again. She had deep cleaned the entire kitchen when Autumn was planning on doing a load of dishes. Autumn being the host. I don't think she knew it, but looking back, that was definitely sort of a last hurrah, last going out with a bang. The way integration works, like, it's not like she's dead. It's not like her or Amelia are dead. It's just, it's different. Even since earlier today when we filmed the Meet the Alders video, I've grown more. I've almost even feel like I've slid up the age scale a little bit to like right around 20. Olivia was in her mid-20s. She liked to call herself the stereotypical college girl, but way deeper than the shallowness that you first think. I don't have most of those like party girl instincts. I'm actually way more of a, not quite sure where I got it from, but way more of a want to get to work, I'm really looking forward to having a purpose. But then again, most recently we were talking about getting a part-time job for Olivia. She'd been feeling really isolated. She'd been drifting for a while, feeling like she didn't have a purpose, especially since we're not in college this semester. We also we had a bad experience with people that she considered to be her support group. A group that we thought was safe wasn't, and it was where she felt most comfortable, and that things changed back then. She as scared as she was, it felt right. I know that. Because part of her has a purpose now, I guess. Jeez. But, yeah, that just, this video is part to add for information and to be more honest with the we, ourselves, and us about the realities of living with the dissociative identity and the unexpected things that can occur. And, partly to let the rest of the system know. Our communication's been kind of crappy recently. I think between, an alter recently fronted that we thought was dormant, recently fronted, which was a good thing, a very good thing. And then with this integration and, to be entirely honest, the body's planning on going and seeing the bio family soon, and the host is very excited, honestly, that as much as I dislike them, as horrible as the memories I have about them are, they've been trying. They've been trying. I can acknowledge that. System's still getting used to the host being married also. So there's been a lot of communication issues, and the videos have helped, and I figured this would be a good way to get that message across. Yeah, I think that's about it. But yeah, I'm reframing my answer. Not Amelia. Leah. I'm Leah. Yeah. whew, watching that always brings back hard. I talked in the most recent video, the Vacations Within the Vacation Part 1, I mentioned, how communication has already grown so much in the system back then, back on that day. And for the first week or two, there was no communication at all. I couldn't really pass messages, and to be entirely honest, some of the system was wary. The system was grieving for Olivia. James, specifically, was very, very close with Olivia. They truly considered themselves brother and sister. So his communication with me wasn't very strong for a while because it hurt him to know that she was gone. After we finished filming that video, he fronted almost immediately. And he didn't need... He understood enough. He didn't need to see it. He didn't have memories of the video, but he understood enough to know what had happened. And he was hurting. He was angry, and he was sad, and he was grieving. In our city, there's a church that Seth, Autumn's husband, used to go to. And outside of the church, there are 3 enormous crosses. Enormous crosses. And it's not something that the system does very often at all, but Autumn and Seth have in the past gone and prayed there. That night, James asked if they could go there. It was late. They probably should have gone to bed, but they made the right decision. So Seth and James went to the crosses to pray, and I'm pretty sure just about every altar in the system took a turn. Kneeling at that altar, kneeling before those crosses. Including me, just... It was a lot of emotions. It was James being angry at God and working through that in submission at the cross. I know that when Autumn had fronted, she still didn't know about the integration. She still didn't know what was going on. But she could feel all the emotions from James, from all that. And her prayer that night was, God, why would you let us be broken like this? Why can't you heal us? Not just from the DID, we have some really bad chronic health issues. And we've been miraculously healed from some before. So we've seen that God can do miracles, which definitely helps with the belief, but doesn't always help with the faith. Because a God who can heal, why doesn't he? So there were a lot of emotions. Pretty sure, just like I said, just about everyone prayed. And then James and Seth went home. And Autumn was able to front in and watch the video that night. And she just curled up with Seth and sobbed for a while. It was a very raw night. And I had a lot of emotions too. I remember feeling hurt. What was so wrong with me that they were so mad that I was around? I've just been trying to help. I was here to do the YouTube, to do the content, to do the editing, to do what they needed done. Why were they so against me? It's one of the reasons I wasn't really bothering to improve communication. Whew. I was planning on telling more. I was planning on telling a story, a somewhat fun actually story about the weekend after and everything that happened with that, but I think I'm just gonna end the video here. If you guys are interested in hearing about that, go ahead and comment it. I'm sure eventually we'll post about it, but if it's something you guys are interested in, we went to a wedding and oh boy, there were a lot of mishaps. Mainly Autumn and James dealt with, fortunately. But I think we're done. Bye. Sorry for the really heavy video.